Section 2, dealing with crime, 2 objectives. First one, identify the principal types of crime in the United States. Second objective is explain the characteristics of the American criminal justice system. The principal types of crime in the United States, there are 5. You have violent crimes, which includes murder, robbery. Most victims are or tend to be African Americans. Robbery can be defined as larceny from the person or presence of another by violence or threat. Second one that we have, the type of crime in the United States, is crime against property. This includes burglary, larceny, vehicle theft, and this is more common than violent crimes. Burglary can be defined as the act of breaking and entering a dwelling at night to commit a felony. A felony is a crime for which the punishment in federal law may be death or imprisonment for more than 1 year. Larceny is the unlawful taking and removal of another's personal property. Our third principal type of crime in the United States is victimless crime, which includes prostitution, gambling, illegal drug use. The offender is the only victim, and I'm not really sure if I agree with this. I believe that if we look at someone who has a gambling problem, it can have an impact on their family because they may steal from them to help pay off their gambling debts. The illegal drug use, in a sense, is that yes, the individual is taking the drugs, but over time, if they become addicted, they also, again, may steal from their family and bring their family members down. The fourth principal type of crime in the United States is white-collar crime, and this is committed by high-status individuals in the course of their professions, which would include fraud, tax evasion, and embezzlement. The last one is organized crime, and this is the pursuit of crime as a big business. Now you see this name here, Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff committed white-collar crime. He was an investor, and he would take people's money and basically tell them that they were getting good returns on their investment with him. In reality, what he was doing, he was typing up fake papers saying that these people were making good money on their investment with him. In reality, he was taking their money and putting it into his own account. He would basically try to get more and more people to come in and invest with him, each time taking some of that money and putting it in his own pocket, while others who were investing with him, if they needed money out of their investments, he would just take some of that money he had gotten from somebody else to invest and give it to them. So people constantly thought that they were making very good investments with him. And word of mouth, more and more people wanted to invest with him, which means he was getting more and more money and taking more and more money and really basically lying to the people. What he was doing is called a Ponzi scheme. And perhaps you've heard of this because of this guy. Bernie Madoff made off with a lot of people's money. And up until about 3 years ago, no one knew this is what he was doing. He is now serving time in jail in North Carolina for his white-collar crime. Question: what are some characteristics of the American criminal justice system? Well, some of the characteristics would be the police. And the police basically have the most control over who is arrested for crimes. The use of police discretion has raised the controversial issue of racial profiling. Well, let's go back to the first point here. If we were to look at an example of males and females speeding, and they get pulled over, more than likely the male is going to get a ticket as opposed to a warning. If it happens to be the female may plead a little bit, she may cry a little bit, say that she didn't mean to speed, anything like that, and because it's the police discretion as to who's going to get the ticket or the warning, more than likely the girl will get the warning, the boy will get the ticket. As far as racial profiling is concerned, prior to 9/11, there was something called DWB, driving while black. And what that entailed was looking at African American males driving in fancier cars, the Escalades, the BMWs, the Audis, the Mercedes with the tinted windows. And the idea, the premise behind this is that these males couldn't have jobs where they could afford to buy these types of cars. So they must be doing something illegal. As illegal as perhaps selling drugs And based upon that profile, people were being pulled over, driving these fancy cars. Now, could they have gotten them legitimately? The answer is yes. Could they have gotten them because they were doing stuff illegal? The answer is yes also. But the idea is that because of profiling, this was what was being done. Since 9/11, the racial profiling of African Americans has dropped somewhat, and now you're doing more racial, or you're seeing more racial profiling of people of Middle Eastern descent. Courts, another one of the characteristics of the American criminal justice system. The courts determine the accused's guilt or innocence through a court trial, a trial of one's peers, by one's peers. The courts assign a punishment. 90% of cases are actually settled through plea bargaining. So an individual gets arrested, goes to court, and receives some aspect of punishment. It could be a 5-year stint in jail, it could be a 20-year stint in jail, it could be a 1-year stint in jail. Sometimes these individuals who are arrested have information about others who are committing more severe deviant acts. And based upon that information, they may be willing to share it with the prosecution. The prosecution may plea bargain, and instead of the person serving a 10-year sentence, it may be plea bargained down to a 5-year sentence because they were cooperative. With the American criminal justice system, we have the corrections. And this includes the aspect of probation, one being imprisoned or imprisonment, and the possibility of parole. So in corrections, with this, it serves 4 different functions, and they are as follows. You have retribution. An individual commits a crime. We as society want retribution. We want to get revenge for the victim, and therefore by putting this person either on probation or in jail, we are receiving some sort of vindication. We are getting some retribution or revenge. By having these laws on the books for people who are in violation of these laws, these deviant acts, the punishment serves as a deterrence. It discourages offenders and non-offenders from committing future crimes. Now, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. The aspect of if you kill somebody that you could end up spending your entire life in jail depends on what state you're in. The state of Connecticut does not have a death penalty. But if you were to commit a crime such as killing somebody in the state of Texas, Florida, and Virginia, very quickly you may find that you are on death row and zapped based upon the electricity, or you might have lethal injection. So the idea here is that the severity of the crime, we have certain deterrents to discourage you from committing those crimes. The idea of corrections initially was to rehabilitate the individual. And so rehabilitation in corrections was to serve to reform criminals so that they can return to society as law-abiding citizens. What we tend to find now is that some people end up going to jail for some petty stuff, and while they're in jail, they're not really getting rehabilitation, they're getting re-educated on how to commit other crimes, which leads to one of the other vocabulary words we have, which is recidivism. The act that someone commits a crime, serves time, gets out of jail through parole, ends up committing another crime, ends up back in jail, perhaps getting some more time, getting paroled, gets back out, and commits another crime. So the rate of recidivism is high because the rehabilitation program for the corrections doesn't seem to be working. By putting someone in jail, it provides social protection. By limiting the freedom of the criminals, they aren't in society anywhere where they can commit additional crimes, more heinous, deviant acts within the general population of society. Now, while they're in jail, could they commit other crimes? The answer is yes, but they're committing crimes against others who are in jail, so they're already outside of our society, so they are still, excuse me, they're still unable to have the freedoms that the rest of us have, and so it provides social protection for the rest of us. The juvenile justice system is the 4th component. And basically, the juvenile justice system applies to offenders or people younger than the age of 18. What they are guaranteed are, as juveniles, they are defendants that would receive the same legal rights and privileges as adults. The downside is that they may commit an adult crime, but they won't have to serve adult time. At the same time, the juveniles are seen as younger people who have a better chance of getting rehabilitated, and so they'll often get more services provided for them, such as opportunity to get their GED, job training, so that they can come out at the age of 18 out of the juvenile justice system and have a chance to be a law-abiding citizen and contribute positively to society. If we look at this slide here, basically what I've done is I've put all four of them together under the same house so you can see how they all fit together. These are the four components of the American criminal justice system. And here is the wrap-up. What are the functions of deviance? How does the label theory differ from other theories of deviance? Describe the 5 general characteristics of crime. Be sure to list the types of crimes in each category. And what purpose does the correction system fulfill? How does the juvenile justice system meet these same purpose? And that's it.